I'm Curt Austin. Welcome to Pondering Passages. We're going to be talking about Psalm 144 today. Really excited about it. Great conversation ahead as we discuss God's activity in our lives, protecting us, making our lives flourish, doing the best we can with what God gives us, that we can sing a new song in our hearts, in our minds, in our lives, with our fingers playing on a 10-stringed harp. We'll see you then. Welcome to Pondering Passages. I'm Curt Austin. This is my friend David Mullins.
Good to be here, Curt. Good to see you. As always, you're looking mighty fine today.
Thank you. The two of us are talking about, we're pondering and not just talking about, because anybody can talk about, but it takes a special mind to be able to ponder. Psalm 144 this week. So Dave, 144, what you think?
I liked it. There's a lot to it. Really, you can break it down to two different parts, right around verse 11. We'll get into that, I'm sure. But a lot to reflect on, a lot to ponder, as you would say.
I actually broke it up into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 parts.
5 parts. All right. Well,
I did.
So let's dive in. Each part you can break up into even more.
We need to have kind of a David Letterman style of, kind of a
top 10 list or.
Oh, I like that. The top 10 list of, that's a good idea. All right. So verses 1 through 4 are on this first slide. And I broke it up at verse 1 and 2, and then verse 3 and 4. I broke those up.
Okay. And you can do that. If it's okay, I'll show where really the main break is. That's okay. Should we do that now?
Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
Because there's a lot of praise through here.
Woohoo!
Through verse 8, verse 9, and then verse 11, it turns into more of, verse right there, save me. So there is that shift right there. But there are other, you can break it down further, like what you have done.
I did
as well.
I did.
Yeah, I know you can do it because you did. So
I just felt like the beginning was really, really beautiful, right? Praise the Lord who is my rock, but not the fingering training.
See, I was going to ask you about that. When you read that, he starts out right away, trains my hands for war and gives my fingers skill for battle. What are some of the things that go through your mind on applying that to your life?
Well, I felt like, let's take out for battle, right?
Okay.
And let's take out for war.
All right.
In this context, I honestly went back. So I love the movie Braveheart, right? I think it's a fun movie to watch, other than people getting slaughtered and their heads cut off and things like that. But I like the storyline, and it's a reminder to me that there have been times in history, and a lot of history, that is really more of a primitive culture where there is battle. There is, and you say that, and yet here we are, current affairs, Russia and Ukraine are, as I saw an article this morning saying that Russia is beating the drums of war, is what the headline was. And so has anything really changed? The difference is in reading this is that the psalmist is putting themselves in the context of that warlike state or warrior kingdom.
Yeah.
And I was okay with taking it and saying, I don't live in that, but certainly I'm willing to allow God to train my hands and to give my fingers skill. But then I move immediately on to verse 2, where God is my ally, my tower of safety, my rescuer. I loved all of those words that represented who he was. My shield. I take refuge. I liked it just because of that.
Yeah, and I don't know if this is helpful to anyone, but one way you can look at it is, every day's a battle. It seems battling against your oh your lesser angels. I don't know what word. I don't want to use demons, but we all have those things in our lives that it seems like we're battling against. Things that get on. Sometimes we trip over ourselves, and so yeah, I can see it in that context as well. He gives me the ability to go beyond those things. And yeah, I agree. He's my loving ally, my fortress, my tower of safety, my rescuer, all those things, my shield, and I take refuge in him. But I don't see that he makes this nation submit to me, but that might be kind of cool.
If I were king, and I did see like the A there, I left it in
If I were king, you all would be afraid.
Oh, we would fear you. We would love you.
No, you wouldn't fear me, but just, oh my goodness.
But he makes the nations submit to me. I mean, that can, some of the translations also said, or some of the versions also say that he makes my people, submit to me.
That's why the little A is there.
Yeah. And you're writing this, then maybe that's what that says. It's the people then submit to me.
Yeah. And it is a Psalm of David, or for a Davidic king, is the one that they think would, this would be for them. But, we can take it on ourselves as well, because it has some beautiful things. And then verse 3 kind of, this psalm actually riffs off Psalm 8. If you look at Psalm 8, it uses some of the same language and some of the same imagery. Verse 3 is one in particular. What are human beings that you should notice them? I mean, that's a good question. It's when I look at God, it's like, is that a comparison that, me to ants, how I kind of view ants. And I don't take notice of them.
So you don't? That's too bad.
Although I used to have an ant farm.
Did you? Tell us about the ant farm. Blow it up and tell us the story about your ant farm. Is it that fascinating?
No, it's not. So I had sea monkeys too. So
I had magic rocks. Remember those things that would grow? You'd put them in the water and they would grow tall, different colors.
Sponges?
No, they were rocks. They were like minerals.
Okay. No.
Anyway, so the reason I broke this at verse 2, between verse 2 and 3, is because I felt like there was a shift here where he's talking about just humanity in general. You recognize everyone, and I was thinking about this, trying to put this into some sort of context. Currently on the planet are 7 billion people, right? And I've tried to look this up in the past. Some math person has been able to figure it out, but how many people actually have lived on this planet throughout all of history? And it's a staggering, you can't even wrap your mind around the idea, and there's no way to accurately, but a guesstimation of, and yet, I mean, why would God notice them? There's so many, and so diverse. Why would you even think about them?
That's true.
And in the context of time and space, we really are like a breath of air.
Yeah.
Our lives are so short, and yet we see them as so significant. We see our lives are so significant to us, and the people around us we love so much.
And here's a little, I guess, activity to kind of prove. I guess we can blow up here. Let me see if I can do this.
Ta-da!
Yeah. Here's a little activity. Try to name your 4, I think it's great-great-grandparents.
Don't know.
I mean, we can usually go back. I mean, usually our parents and then maybe our grandparents. Beyond that, it gets a little foggy.
I can do my great-grandmother.
Okay, but not.
And beyond that. And now and Anita, my wife, has done some genealogy, and so she's able to go back to great easily.
But here's the thing. Those folks are just names on a piece of paper. You really don't know what they did, what they believed, even how they lived.
Now, I will say,
you might from time to time get someone, but
Anita has been lucky enough to trace her family back to Charlemagne. And so she's of the royal line in Charlemagne, which then takes her then because of what's the term, royalty has to holy secession or whatever it is. So because they got to Charlemagne, whoever does Charlemagne knows that it goes back to Adam and Eve. So she can trace her
Oh.
lineage directly to Adam and Eve.
What about the flood?
I don't know.
Don't you have to go back to Noah?
Well, whoever did it, you couldn't be a king unless you could trace it back to Adam and Eve somehow.
Oh, okay.
So,
Okay.
but oh, you took me away. I was going to tell a great. No, I'm kidding. No, don't take me. Yeah, you're right. I think you're exactly right, Dave. That a breath, and I really like what you said about the fact that they're just a name on a piece of paper. They're a name that we breathe out, maybe if we know it, but we don't know their character. Unless they were notorious bank robbers.
That's true.
We don't know them.
Yeah.
And they are a passing shadow. But my daughter once accused me one time of my writing being all about establishing some sort of, what am I leaving?
Monument
kind of stuff. Of my own, what am I leaving? What am I doing?
Yeah.
And she said, I noticed a lot of your writing is about that, Dad. And it's because this passage or words like it within the Bible were really hitting home with me. It's like, what am I going to leave behind?
Yeah.
What will people remember?
But here's the thing. Here's the thing that I think this psalm brings out. It doesn't matter what people remember about us, because God knows us. God is the important agent here, if I can say agent. And we can spend our whole lives trying to do something. I mentioned monument because, kings would do that. They would make a monument to themselves so that they would be remembered. Yeah. And the reality is it doesn't matter. What matters is that we are remembered, and we are remembered by God. Not just remembered by God, we are known by him. And that is, I think, what this psalmist is really getting to. What are human beings that not just that you notice them, that you know them, and that you think about them. Now, I don't think about my great grandparents. I know they existed, apparently, but God thinks about us, even though we're a breath of air and our days are like passing shadows.
So I broke it up. Here's where I broke it up again.
Yeah.
Right. Go ahead.
Yeah. As he asked God to come down and just, show who he is, at this point, open the heavens.
That's exactly right.
Come down, touch the mountains. And this is a response to the praise. This is really a response to verses 1 and 2 and the amazement of verse 3 and 4. It's like, here is, what, just do this, Lord. Show your power, show who you are.
I felt like this absolutely was about the power. If you're talking about, is it Zeus that throws lightning bolts?
I believe so.
Greek mythology. So he's talking about controlling this space. He's talking about controlling the deeps of the waters. So whether it's in the skies or whether it's in the ocean, he's in charge of those things. Yeah. And it's really a statement of the fact that he's not just a figure on a shelf.
Right. He has power. And really, it does go back to verse 1, because he talks about trains my hand for war. There's a battle. There's something here. Yeah. War, battle, fortress, safety, refuge. And then he's talking about, shoot arrows and confuse your enemies, scatter them, reach down, rescue me from deep waters, from the power of enemies. And then he says this a couple of times. Their mouths are full of lies. Yeah. They swear to tell the truth, but they lie instead. And that's always a dilemma. How do you know someone that's telling you that they're telling you the truth, that they're not actually lying to you at that point?
Keep going, man. You're on a roll.
Oh no, I was waiting for your input.
Well, I felt like, and it wasn't until yesterday morning that I noticed that verses 8 and 11 are repeated. Basically, they're repeats. Well, I wish I'd broken this up. Huh?
Close to it.
Yeah. Close
Yeah.
to, I mean, save me, but rescue me from the power of my enemies. Their
Yeah.
mouths are full of lies. They swear to tell the truth, but they lie instead. Is word for word duplicate.
Yeah.
And I love that between those bookmarks or bookends, between those bookends is what my, their mouths are full of lies. What's my mouth going to be full of? I'm going to sing you a new song to you,
Praise.
God.
Yeah.
I'm going to sing praise. I'm going to use my instrument. Um,
It
and
and
I love it.
10-stringed harp. You have to use your fingers for that. And early on,
Yeah,
he
that's,
said, preparing my fingers for
yeah, yeah,
war. But
yeah,
here, you're preparing my fingers for praise.
yeah,
And I didn't misspeak earlier. I said, verse 11, it's really between 11 and 12 that it shifts. I mean, there's like a
yeah.
major shift.
Oh,
Uh,
man. It's like two different
well,
passages.
that's what I was getting at, that shift between the two. So we're ready to shift to verse 12.
The only thing I would say is 10 and 11. For you grant victory to kings, you rescued your servant David from the fatal sword. So, again, even though this is a psalm of David, it's probably a psalm reflecting
Yeah.
David's reign and the
Al-
king's.
Although, if you want to keep the traditional thing that it's David, I mean, David could be talking in the third person.
Yeah, he's got grammatical problems, but
Well,
so save
your
Kurt from the fatal
servant
sword.
David from, yeah.
Your servant Kurt, save me. And I wrote if then. So if you grant victory to kings, if you rescue your servant from the fatal sword, if you can save me, then rescue me. If you could do all of these things, then please rescue me from the
Yeah.
power of my enemies. I don't know. That's, as I was reading it, I thought about that quite a bit this week.
Yeah. And then, like we've been saying, 12, it really shifts. All of a sudden it's a series,
Yeah.
it's like the Beatitudes, a series of
Oh,
blessings.
interesting. Interesting.
May our
I didn't
son,
read it that way.
well, in what way
I
did
mean, I
you read
love
it?
that. I love that. No, I read it kind of like this utopian hope. I
Okay.
mean,
Well, yeah. I mean, yeah. May our sons flourish. May
yep.
our daughters be like graceful pillars. I'm thinking, okay. I mean, sons like well-nurtured plants. I can get that. Graceful
Yeah.
pillars carved to beautify a palace. And one of the commentators mentioned, if you go to a lot of like palaces, you see these statues, these pillars that are a lot of times women, and so, okay, graceful pillars. I guess that's better than non-graceful pillars, but
Yes, that's
or
exactly,
ungraceful
that
pillars.
is right. I mean, the idea is, the premise is that everything in these next four verses, 12, 13, 14,
Yeah.
15, are all about abundance, prosperity, an ideal life, right?
Yes. Yes. And again, verse 15 really summarizes it all.
Yeah, yeah.
Joyful are those who live like this, who God is their refuge, who God is. I mean, it really sums it all up, even though it does almost feel like, oh, maybe there's two Psalms here. And there might have been at one point. But one of the commentators mentioned, he uses stuff from other Psalms, and
Mhm.
it shows that, they would use things for different situations and different reasons. And so, this is part of it. This is part of it.
At verse 14, there's no enemy breaking through our walls, no going into captivity. I thought that was no going into captivity seemed like kind of odd wording a little bit.
Yeah.
No going into captivity, but I thought, this was the truth of what was going on back then.
Yeah.
And in a lot of other places, we just don't get it. We don't understand that. But where Boko Haram is grabbing people and taking them off, hundreds of people, children and women and young girls, where they're taking them, and just this would ring so true.
Oh yeah.
Of, we would much rather have this flourishing, the flocks that are multiplying. Well, and boil it down to the bare necessities. Many of the times that the Boko Haram is attacking is schools, where all they want to do is just have a normal life, and yet they're grabbing people and they're taking them into the jungle where no one can find them. Well, that'd just be horrible. We can't even comprehend.
No.
But the writer of this psalm can.
Yes.
And I think that's important to remember.
And one of the things with Psalms is they always try to figure out, was it, what time period? Was it in the time of David? Did David actually write it? Was it, before the exile? Was it after the exile? This very well could be after the exile. And they're sitting there. And I think one of the commentators said, maybe the day of Nicodemus. No. Nicodemus?
Nebuchadnezzar?
Nehemiah. Oh, man, I knew.
I just kept trying to think of names that start with an N.
I know. Nate, Neil. Nehemiah. And if you don't know your Bible history, Nehemiah was one of the ones that went back once it was allowed and tried to rebuild the walls around Jerusalem that had been destroyed. And so if it was from his time, you could be someone that they're saying, we don't ever want to go through that again.
Yeah. And no enemy breaking through our walls would fit that storyline perfectly.
Yeah.
No cries of alarm in our town square. I mean, wow, how visual that is.
Yeah. Yeah. So
anyway, I thought this was a great story to read, or a great psalm to read each and every day. I was fully captivated by it. Every day I read it, something new stood out to me.
Yeah. So thank you, man. Thank you for, and thank all of you for spending time with us, and feel free to leave comments. Go to ponderingpassages.com. There's a blog, and Curt has been very, very active.
I have been active.
Yes.
And I'll tell you what, if you, heck, let's put it out there. If you have a passage and you're thinking, ooh, I'd love to hear what you have to say about this, send it to us in a text or a chat and let us know, because then we'll look at that and write something about it. And we won't use this video, but we'll use.
Well, you don't know that.
Space in the club.
You never know. You never know what we'll do. We're crazy like that.
Wacky. We're just wacky. Well, that's what we're known for.
Well, that's true. Yeah.
So thank you. Yeah. Thanks, Dave.
Yeah, it's been great. Been wacky with you. If you want to follow along, you can click the subscribe button, and I think the little bell will tell you if there are new episodes. We try to get those out on Saturday night at 9 p.m.
Yep.
Because we know, well,
you're not doing anything else. That's all you want to do is watch it. Yeah.
So anyway, follow us online. Go to ponderingpassages.com and chat with us. We'd love to hear from you.
Love to. We'll see you soon.
I don't know what's weird with my wife. She keeps starting out conversations with, "Did you hear a word I said?" So you like that one. Maybe I'll have to use it. I didn't think it was that funny, but maybe.
That's wonderful. I like that a lot. That is funny. That is really good.
Yeah, that was. And sometimes it'd be girlfriend, and sometimes they change it a little bit. That was basically it.
What's wrong with my wife?
Yeah. Does your wife start that conversation with, "Did you hear a word I said?"
Oh man, that is funny, and I think half of the congregation is going to love that joke.